Welcome to English Practice Every Day. In this video, we will learn how to make complex sentences with basic chunks. All the practice we did so far of simple sentences, if you have managed to finish it with patience and discipline, congratulations. You have just entered into your journey of becoming fluent. Unknown to you, you have mastered the basic sentence structure with your practice. All sentences that we practiced had tentatively 4 main definite chunks to them. One is naming chunk, meaning naming details. 2 is action chunk, meaning some kind of activity details. 3 is description chunk, meaning description of name or activity. And 4, context chunk, meaning details about what, when, and how about activity. For example, Jean, a handsome and tall man, always offers to do gardening for my grandmother. In this simple sentence, Jean is name chunk. A handsome and tall man is description chunk. Always is description chunk. Offers is activity chunk. To do gardening is context chunk. And for my grandmother is description chunk. Sentences we practiced had at least 2 chunks combined in them. We don't always need all 4 to make our sentences. I am telling all this to make you understand in retrospect, meaning looking backward, what you practiced so far through our practice videos. Now let's go into details as to how these 4 chunks can help us create more complex sentences. The first chunk, naming chunk, we can replace one word with multiple word groups to provide more information about that naming word. For example, from above sentence, Jean, a handsome and tall man, always offers to do gardening for my grandmother. Jean can be replaced with pronoun he. He, a handsome and tall man, always offers to do gardening for my grandmother. Or John can be replaced with my grandmother's neighbor, which is again a word group that provides more information about John. My grandmother's neighbor, a handsome and tall man, always offers to do gardening for my grandmother. Or John can be replaced with man living next to my grandmother, or Mary's husband, or Jack's father, etc. All these word groups provide information about John. What I am trying to say here is naming chunk can be expanded into various word groups to replace the naming chunk. That helps us create more complex sounding sentences. We can do this with all chunks of one particular sentence to make complex sentences that provide more information and also add fluency to our English speaking. Now let's expand the description chunk, a handsome and tall man, which describes the naming chunk John. We can describe John's various characteristics that we know, replacing this description chunk with other word groups like a kind and gentle man, a polite and graceful man, etc. Now let's expand another description chunk in the sentence, always, which is a modifier of action chunk offers. By modifier, I mean this word always provides information about offers. Offers when? Answer to this question could be always, occasionally, sometimes, once a week, etc. Further, we can also ask offers how. This will again help us expand this chunk. Kindly offers, or generously offers, or even grudgingly, meaning unwillingly offers. So the sentence would become Jean, a handsome and tall man, occasionally, or sometimes, or once a week, offers to do gardening for my grandmother. Or Jean, a handsome and tall man, kindly, or generously, or grudgingly, offers to do gardening for my grandmother. Now let's move on to action chunk. John, a handsome and tall man, always offers to do gardening for my grandmother. Here, offers is action chunk. We can replace this chunk with is gracious enough to offer. John, a handsome and tall man, is gracious enough to offer to do gardening for my grandmother. As mentioned above, we can replace it with kindly offers, generously offers, politely offers, and so on. We can do the same with context chunk, to do gardening. We can replace it with to make the garden tidy, or to clean up the garden, or to beautify the garden, and so on. Lastly, we can replace our last description chunk for my grandmother with for my nana, or for my old granny, or for my lovely nana, or for my chair-bound nana, etc. So finally, if we expand all chunks with word groups, we can make our sentence something like John, Mary's husband and Jack's father, a handsome and tall man, kind and generous, a neighbor of my grandmother, once a week graciously offers to tidy up the garden for my chair-bound nana. By now, you must have got a little idea how complex sentences can be formed out of simple sentences with the help of word groups. Don't worry and don't feel overwhelmed by all this. We will practice lots of such word groups to make you master such substitution of chunks with word groups. I urge you to go through this video once more to understand how we substitute main chunks with word groups to provide more information and create complex sentences that also add more to our fluency. And that's all for this session. Bye for now.